Picture a toy top. A spinning top. You give it a spin, it hums along, and then boom, it wobbles and crashes. Now, think about where you are right now. You feel like you're sitting totally still, right? Just staring at a screen. But actually, you're moving. Right this second, you're flying faster than a commercial jet. If you're anywhere near the equator, you're zooming through space at over 1,600 kilometers an hour every single second. What if that steady spin just stopped? Not forever, just for one tiny second. The shortest, craziest second in the whole 4.5 billion year history of our planet. Most people think a second is no big deal, just a quick blink of an eye. But in the next 10 minutes, you're going to see that 1 second is all it takes to totally rewrite the rules of geography, physics, and how we survive. Stick around for this, because the way this second wraps up is definitely not what you'd expect. To understand this mess, we have to set some ground rules. So, don't blink. This all happens in a single heartbeat. We aren't stopping the Earth from orbiting the Sun. We aren't turning off gravity either. We're only stopping the spin of the solid rock right under your feet. The giant spinning ball just freezes in place. And that brings us to the big boss of the universe, a force that controls everything that moves. That force is called inertia. Inertia is the invisible rule that keeps things going, like Isaac Newton said. Something that's moving stays moving unless a force stops it. Think about what happens when you're traveling. When you slam on the brakes in a car, the car stops because the tires grab the road. But your body keeps flying forward. There's no physical brake on your own momentum. And that's exactly why we wear seatbelts. Now, let's blow that up to a planetary level. The Earth is our car. And you, the buildings, the oceans, and the air are the passengers. When the Earth's crust hits the brakes for a second, there's no seatbelt for the planet. The air doesn't have a brake pedal. The friction from the ground can't stop it either. So, when the Earth stops, the air keeps rushing forward at supersonic speeds. Everything on the surface gets thrown into an impossible race. Every building we ever made is about to feel the true force of raw kinetic energy. A massive, violent push to the east. Let's see what this actually looks like as the shockwave rolls across the globe. Time slows way down to a crawl. Just 1 second. The clock starts. Now, hold on tight, because the wind is coming, and it's not holding back for anyone. What happens next isn't just a heavy storm. It's a massive kinetic shockwave, a giant force hitting everything all at once. Near the equator, a wind blowing over 1,600 kilometers an hour hits instantly. No warning at all, just a sudden massive blast of air. A total shock to the system. To put that in perspective, the worst Category 5 hurricanes ever recorded max out around 300 kilometers an hour. This wind is more than 5 times stronger than that. It's way off any scale we've ever made. Far beyond any storm you've ever seen. Nothing you're holding by hand stands a chance. At this speed, trees don't just blow over, they're shredded into tiny toothpicks. Skyscrapers aren't just knocked down, they're ripped off their foundations and turned to dust. The air itself goes supersonic, creating a massive, non-stop sonic boom around the world. A sound that would pop your eardrums instantly and shatter every piece of glass left on Earth. If you were standing outside, you wouldn't even realize what was happening before it hit. The raw speed would launch you sideways like a bullet. Total devastation in less than a heartbeat. But the air isn't the only passenger in this crazy planetary car crash. Let's talk about the water. Because the Earth spins, centrifugal force makes our planet bulge out at the equator. This means there's a huge hill of water permanently held up by the planet's spin. A giant bulge of oceans riding right along the middle. When that spin stops, gravity tries to pull that hill of water flat, but inertia forces it to keep rushing to the east. The oceans would slosh violently right out of their basins. A wall of water, kilometers high, would sweep across the coast at supersonic speeds. A giant wave drowning the land with no way to stop it, sweeping through with unbelievable power. Entire islands would go under in just a few frames, vanishing completely from the surface. If the wind didn't destroy your city, a giant tidal wave would finish the job for good, rushing inland for hundreds of kilometers, leaving absolutely nothing but water behind. The water rises to crazy heights, redrawing every coastline on the map, swallowing our entire civilization under the sea, rushing in every direction at once. Ships would be lifted from the deep ocean and tossed way onto dry land. Or, well, what used to be dry land. The world map would be wiped entirely clean in just 1 second. A totally fresh, empty slate. Our past is completely gone. Everything we built to guide us is wiped out. Every single boundary is erased. No defense can hold it back. Only a silent ocean is left behind. A total reset of our geography. The rush slows down. But wait, we aren't done yet. Because while the surface is being ripped apart by wind and water, a much deeper, scarier monster is waking up right under your feet. A massive force rising from deep below. Think of the Earth like an avocado. The crust is thin, sitting on a thick, gooey mantle and a spinning core. Different layers spinning at different speeds. When the crust stops, the mantle and the core keep going. They just keep on sliding. The friction between the frozen crust and the spinning mantle would create an unbelievable amount of heat. The Earth's crust would buckle, warp, and tear wide open. Tectonic plates would grind against each other with extreme violence. It would set off earthquakes completely off the charts. We're talking Richter magnitude 10, 11, or even 12. Earthquakes so strong they'd literally reshape mountains. All that extreme pressure would force magma from the mantle to explode upward. Every single volcano on Earth, active or dormant, would blow up at the exact same time, shooting giant pillars of ash, toxic gas, and lava into those supersonic winds. The very structure of our world falls apart, a hot, melting nightmare of molten stone. Ash clouds completely block out the sun. Superheated steam jets blast through the cracks. The ground itself becomes a massive web of glowing magma. No instruments could even measure this scale. Poisonous fumes choke the air. The surface of the planet would become a literal hell of fire, wind, and water. Just complete, visual chaos. Fire webs tracing across the land. The end of the world unfolding right in front of you. Extreme planetary stress. Rivers of molten rock everywhere. Continents smashing into each other. Absolutely nowhere left to hide. It's absolute danger. The very bedrock fails. And then, just as quickly as it stopped, the second is over. The planetary brakes are released, and the Earth suddenly starts spinning again. The whiplash of this sudden startup is just as violent as the stop. Anything that got launched east is suddenly jerked backward. A second brutal shockwave, ripping apart whatever was somehow left standing. The crust is forced to speed up in an instant, creating a second reverse wave of kinetic impact. Volcanoes are sheared right off. The supersonic winds reverse direction in a flash, crashing into themselves and making chaotic global super tornadoes. Those massive walls of ocean water are pulled back toward their basins, creating a second wave of destruction as they drain off the land. Buildings that somehow survived the first shock are torn apart in the opposite direction. The air slowly starts dragging against the spinning crust again, creating massive friction all over the globe. Lightning, static, and a totally chaotic sky. A wild, messy transition back to our normal spin. The extreme turbulence finally starts to fade. As the dust settles, the planet finally calms down. But it's a completely different world. The second has passed, and the silence that follows is absolutely deafening. Our cities are gone, replaced by endless fields of concrete, dust, and water. The geography of our world has been completely reset. Just a blank landscape. No trace of modern life left. Communication lines are completely dead. If we look closely at this quiet horizon, we realize just how fragile our lives really are. We live on a giant, spinning rock flying through the dark void of space, protected only by a delicate balance of physics. A balance we take for granted every single day. Next time you see a toy top spin or feel a gentle breeze on a quiet afternoon, remember how lucky we are that our planet keeps turning. What do you think would be the scariest part of this planetary second? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to keep exploring the wildest what-if scenarios in the universe, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, keep asking, what if?